Okay, the purpose of this video is to talk a little bit about these COVID-19 mortgage forbearance plans. What I will say is making this video in real time, things are changing every day. Banks have a lot of discretion on how they apply these. And so I'm going to do the best to just walk through what I know. But please note that by the time you watch this, something could be different just because COVID is kind of an unknown situation for us all, and everybody, including the banks, are trying to navigate their way through this. So what is a COVID-19 forbearance plan, right? So when COVID hit, several people were out of work. A lot of people are still out of work. It's the end of beginning of October, and some people still are not back to work. So for everyone that went out of work, the federal government said that for federally guaranteed loans, which would be FHA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, mortgage lenders are to give these forbearance plans to homeowners so that they have a temporary pause or break in making their mortgage payments. So if you have one of those investors, you should be able to receive a forbearance plan. The terms of the forbearance plan can be up to 12 months. I've seen homeowners be put on a 3-month, 6-month, or 12-month forbearance plan. So there are, I think, like over 600,000 homeowners right now who are out of work, not paying their mortgage, and they're not on one of these COVID plans, and they have a federally guaranteed loan. So if you're one of these people who's like, I can't pay my mortgage payment because of COVID, and you have a federally guaranteed loan, you'll want to speak with your lender about getting on one of these forbearance plans if that's the right decision for you. People ask, how do I get one? So the general theory is that you should not have to apply or send in any documentation. It should be enough to call the loss mitigation department at your particular servicer and tell them you have a COVID-related hardship, and they should be able to immediately give you a forbearance plan. I've been seeing a few problems with these, but overall, you should get the phone number for your loss mitigation department, call them, tell them you have a COVID hardship, and they should be able to put you on a forbearance. I'm recommending that everybody get their COVID forbearance plans in writing. The bank will tell you, hey, you're on one, it's all good, but you want to really push them to get them to fax you the agreement. The reason you want them to fax you the agreement is because you want to understand what will happen to you or what will be expected of you at the end of your forbearance plan. So typically, and there's another video posted just about general mortgage forbearances, but typically at the end of a forbearance period, homeowners just resume making their regular mortgage payment. So if the lender tells you you can forbear payments for 6 months, most people expect that at the end of the 6 months, they're just going to pick back up making mortgage payments. Unfortunately, the transition out of a COVID plan was not regulated well by the government. And so we are seeing different servicers implement what they want at the end of the period in different ways. Flagstar, for example, put everyone that called in on these 3 to 6 month forbearance plans. But now that we're at the end of this 6 month period, Flagstar is requiring full payment of all mortgage statements, of all mortgage payments, which means that if you cannot pay the full amount you missed for those months, which who can, right? We're all out of work. If you can't pay those mortgage payments, you need to quickly transition yourself to some sort of repayment or loan modification review so that you can get the opportunity to resume making mortgage payments. So if you're somebody who's applying now for a COVID forbearance, make sure you are clear and in writing about what's going to be expected of you at the end of the plan. If it's going to be the full payment due, maybe you don't want to go on a forbearance, or maybe you need to be super prepared so that when your forbearance period runs, you can easily transition into some other sort of loss mitigation review. Flagstar in particular is requiring a full package for the loan modification. So for people who have Flagstar and they went on a 6 month forbearance, at the end of the 6 month forbearance, Flagstar's like, great, just send me 6 months payments and you can resume. Nobody has 6 months payments. And so Flagstar is requiring a full loan modification package and a full loan modification negotiation to put people back on payments. So the most important thing I can impart to you, if you are one of these homeowners who's asking for a COVID mortgage forbearance plan, make sure you understand at the end of the temporary period, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, what's going to be expected of you. If they want you to pay the full amount, you need to be prepared at that point to go through a loss mitigation review to get some help and to make sure you can kind of make it through that loan modification review. There is a COVID-19 partial claim option. I have a short video posted on this, but I'm just going to quickly go through that here. So if you have an FHA loan, The government has said that a COVID partial claim may be an option for you at the end of your forbearance plan. People are asking me, what's a partial claim? So a partial claim is kind of a no interest, zero fee, junior lien or subordinate lien that gets recorded on title following the end of your forbearance plan. And that amount, the amount of money that gets recorded, is the amount that you missed. So if you were on a mortgage forbearance for 6 months and you missed 6 months of payments, if you're somebody who qualifies for a partial claim, at the end of your forbearance period, the bank will take the 6 months that you missed, they will create a partial claim, meaning they'll record what looks like a second mortgage or what looks like a subordinate lien on title, and then that money will become due at the maturity date of your loan. So a partial claim is one way for you to just resume your regular mortgage payments at the end of your forbearance period. But then when you go to the end of your loan at the maturity date, or when you decide to sell the home or whatever happens, you will have a partial claim or a second on there for that amount that you missed. Right now, that's being applied to FHA loans. So if you are somebody who has FHA as your servicer and you're on a temporary mortgage forbearance, you want to make sure you ask the bank, hey, can I get a partial claim? It's also important to note that some banks are just immediately giving people partial claims at the end of the forbearance period. So that might be happening to you. You might not have to ask for it. You might not have to apply for it. That's one of the things that's being applied kind of inconsistently right now. So partial claims exist for people with FHA loans right now. Some banks are just automatically telling people, okay, your 3 months forbearance plan is up, make your mortgage payments, and boom, they get a partial claim. So if you get partial claim documents in the mail, you might want to review them with an attorney in your state, or have somebody who understands, read, or make sure you do your research so you're fully informed. But generally, that's what a partial claim is, and that is one thing the servicers are offering is an easy transition. Like I said before, everyone does not qualify for a partial claim, and so some banks and some investors are having clients go through modification review or a repayment plan review at the end of their forbearance period. So I would just want to wrap this up. I say there's kind of 5 things to be aware of if you're trying to transition out of a forbearance plan. Number 1, loan modification and repayment plan negotiations can be kind of intense, and so you should be prepared to put together a full financial package. There are some videos on this page about kind of how to prep your documents, and I have some more videos on the way about kind of how to get through this process. But if you're not someone who's getting an automatic partial claim, if you do not have the full amount to pay and they're expecting the full amount, you need to go through this negotiation process, and it can be kind of intense from a document perspective. So you should be prepared to put your financial documents together. Document everything you can from your bank in writing. If you get a COVID-19 forbearance, make them send you a letter, or make them tell you in writing in some way what the terms of it are and what's expected from you. And then make sure you ask them what's happening with your default status. So you want to make sure that if you're on one of these COVID-19 forbearance plans, that the bank doesn't either accidentally or intentionally move your loan into a default status so you're not suddenly facing foreclosure. Haven't seen this happening too much, but sometimes banks struggle with their systems, and so you want to periodically check in and say, hey, is my loan in default status? They should say no, you're on a forbearance plan, and that's how you kind of know that you're not suddenly going to be facing foreclosure activity, but that is a good question to ask as you go. If you're someone who is transitioning out and you've sent in your loan modification application and your documents and you feel like nothing's happening, you can't get through to anyone, no one will give you a real update, it's probably reasonable that it's not moving forward. Everyone in the nation right now is going through tough financial times, and so the phone lines and the lender representatives are just clogged. And so if you have this feeling in your gut that like your application's not moving, or you're not getting the responses that let you feel comfortable that someone's doing something at the bank, I think that's a reasonable instinct to have, and you might want to see what you can do to get some help. And then you always want to make sure you know who you're talking to over the phone. You can ask for their employee ID number or their name or how they identify themselves, and you want to make sure you keep good record of the phone conversations. Anytime you can get anything in writing, that's good to help. Good luck.